everybody, welcome back to the Commissions and Cashflow Show. I am your host, Andrew Lasky. Today, I have a very special guest, one of my very good friends, Jack Tenke. Jack, welcome to the show, brother.
Yo, yo, yo. Good to be on. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So, Jack, you're in home improvement sales. Tell the audience your story, where you started and where you are today.
Yeah, so it's funny because nobody really goes to college to work in sales. A lot of us end up here, but it doesn't work out that way. So as you know, I went to school for finance and I worked in a boiler room for a year, private equity, right? It was a boiler room. We could call it what it is. And, I wanted to break out into some of these big banks like Morgan Stanley, JP Morgan. I actually interviewed for both of them and they told me the same thing. You got to get your MBA. We like you as a candidate, but you're getting beat by all these people with MBAs. And I didn't want to go back to school. So I kind of fell into sales as a backup plan, which I know there's so many people out there that sales, becomes their career, but that was never the plan A. But I couldn't be happier that this is where I ended up because, doing it for 10 years now, I couldn't imagine myself doing anything else. So I started at Home Depot selling windows for their home exteriors branch. And I got into that from my girlfriend at the time, who's now my wife, was like, hey, I know you need a job and you're looking for something. I have a connection with the sales manager here. You're just going to get hired. You don't even have to interview. And I'm like, well, that sounds easy. I can just go try this and see if it works out. And I had no idea I was going to fall in love. Here we are 10 years later, I'm working at Andersen, which is the tippy top of window sales. And I just love it, man.
That's awesome. I know you're a high performer. You also manage a team. I want to start on the sales side of things. What's the day-to-day look like in home improvement sales?
Yeah, so every company does it a little bit differently, but overall, just the broad scope of things, you're driving to strangers' homes and they're inquiring about whatever it is they need, right? Windows, doors. Some of these home improvement companies do it all: siding, roofing, gutters. And you're kind of just going into, I like to call them warm leads, right? They're not cold. You're not getting them yourself a lot of the time. And they're definitely not hot. They're not, nines and tens on the buying cycle. These are people who, some of them are just looking for numbers, information, and, it's kind of your job to take them through your sales process and make them a buyer, show them that you can solve whatever it is that they're looking to accomplish.
So where are these leads coming from? Clearly, there's some, inbound source, but are they coming from, a specific channel?
Yeah, the lead sources in the home improvement industry are crazy because everybody uses every source they have. You cannot get enough leads. So here at my company, we're doing outbound and inbound, right? We get a lot of phone calls because we're a massive name, we're the most reputable name in the space. So naturally, we just get thousands of leads from people just saying, hey, I need windows, you're Andersen, send somebody to my house, which is awesome. But at the same time, every lead is just an opportunity. I don't rank one lead over another. So, we'll go out and get proxy leads. We have a whole canvassing team knocking doors, and some of those leads are the best that we get. We have retail, people that are posted up in an Ace Hardware or, a ShopRite. Those are two of our big partners. We get leads from social media. We've tried them all, even TikTok, however we can get them, we're going to get them.
So as somebody that's going in and presenting, do you have an appointment setter, or are you taking that lead from setting up the appointment, then going out and then closing, or do you have an appointment setter already?
Yeah, our guys are spoiled. Everything is done for them. They just got to show up.
That's amazing. So you're going to people's houses. So obviously, that's where they live. Sometimes letting a stranger in can be very daunting, especially when they have a family. So how do you build trust with a family very quickly to get them to, want to do business with you?
Yeah, that's such a good question because every day you walk into a different scenario with a different type of person. I tell all of my team members, we all want to drive out to our leads and hope that we're getting Dick and Jane who are oh, we've been waiting for you. Let's throw on a pot of coffee. We need windows so bad. And listen, those are great when you get them. but that's 1 out of every 100 leads you run. So
Yeah.
if you're driving out thinking you're going to run into the perfect scenario, you're hurting yourself. Most of the leads we run, 90%, it's like, oh yeah, I'm just looking for a quote, like Windows over there. Like the guy that I was with this morning was like, you don't need me for this, right? And I'm like, dude, this is your home. You don't want to be part of like the whole experience. And by the end, like we warmed him up and we built trust with him. And when I train my new classes, trust is built in the first 5 to 10 minutes by the way that you show up, by the way that you address them, by the way that you take off your shoes when you get into the house, make eye contact with them, ask them how their day was going. You have to humanize yourself first. Because
Mhm.
if you don't let them know that, yes, it's your house, but it's my appointment and I'm a person, I'm not just some like sales robot, then, things can be very difficult, right? You go right into the script within meeting somebody in 30 seconds. You just let them know, like, you're a sales robot.
Yep. So let's talk
And
about that. Let's talk about the process. So you walk in, you're now building rapport, assuming that you're going into discovery now. You know that they're there, to talk about Windows. I mean, does Andersen sell anything other than Windows, or is it just Windows?
windows and doors.
Windows and doors. Okay. So
Windows
what does
and
that
doors.
discovery phase look like?
Yeah. Yeah. So, every appointment has a lead sheet and, it'll tell them like, oh, they called in for two windows and a door. I don't want anyone like on a perfect appointment. I don't even want them reading the lead sheet because then that kind of messes with the discovery, right?
Hmm.
It's like, oh, my office told me I'm coming out to look at two windows. It's like, no, no, no. Let's have a conversation about your house, your energy efficiency, your drafts. Like if I'm going to solve a real problem, it's not a two window lead, it could be your whole house. So I never want to pigeonhole myself. So, even though you have a lead sheet and you know what they called in on, I don't want to bring that to life because I want more. I always want more.
Gotcha. Okay. So you have this lead sheet. It's essentially telling you why they called. Instead of going through and preparing for, let's say, 15 or 20 minutes, trying to think of different scenarios, you're going in there, you're building rapport by earning their trust and being human, and then moving on to the next segment of the sales process, which I'm
Mhm.
assuming is a demo, or what does that look like?
Yeah, so like I'm always gonna ask this question no matter what. It's give me three reasons why you're looking to replace your windows and doors. Because I want to feel them out a little bit and kind of figure out like I'm gonna do my next piece is my inspection. And that's when I get outside and kind of can change the lead because they can call up for whatever they want. If I find something wrong with something else, I'm not doing my job if I don't show it to you,
Hmm.
right? So really, it's just getting a feel for them and kind of setting the foundation of like, here's how they feel about, their home, their problems. Maybe it's draft, maybe it's security, maybe it's the aesthetics. I don't know until I know. And then once I have what they care about, now I'm going to try to add to it by saying, hey, has anyone pointed this out to you? And, it kind of goes from the discovery into an inspection. Then by the time I get to my demo, I want to be talking about everything on the house. I don't want to just bring in one sample. I want to bring in my whole bag and
Hmm.
just show them as much as possible.
So that's interesting. So you're showing credibility by doing the inspection and literally pointing to it and sharing with them, hey, did you realize that you have this problem here? So not only are they telling you, but you're walking around the house and you're finding and uncovering new things that could be potential problems for them.
Yeah, I want to be the doctor. Like, you don't go into a doctor's office and tell them what you need. You go in and tell them what's going on, and then they tell you what you need. So
Hmm.
I want to establish myself as the doctor. Like, yes, you called me in. You have some symptoms, right? Some cold symptoms, but like, I'm not just gonna take one look at you and be like, yeah, this is the medicine you need. Like, I'm gonna run
Hmm.
tests, and then I'm gonna tell you, hey, I know you thought it was this, but you don't have a cold at all. You actually have a virus. Like it might be way worse than you think, right? I'm glad you came in because let's fix this. That's the sort of vibe that I want to create while I'm with, a homeowner. It's like, yeah, it's your house, but I'm the expert. I'm the professional. Like at the
Yeah.
end of the day, you're gonna take my prescription and then we'll kind of help you that way.
So other than like the obvious aesthetics and like the draft coming in and raising maybe like the bill every month, what other things are selling points to them?
Yeah, there's you go through like this whole thing called frames, and it's an acronym. right? So it's like functionality, resale value, aesthetics, maintenance, energy efficiency, security, and safety. Every single person I meet falls into one of those buckets, if not all of them. Some people fall into, they got an old house with original single pane wood windows. They're probably falling into every single one of these buckets.
Hmm.
In a newer house with some cheap builder, right? The builds these days are not like they were 50 years ago. New home builds are so cheap that somebody could buy like a brand new house and have all these energy efficiency problems with it. And,
Oh, wow.
house looks mint, like it looks beautiful, but their bills are so high, like $800, $900 a month in oil.
So is there a way for you guys to target those homes? Like, is that one of the demographics that you go after, or your
Yeah.
company?
Yeah, for sure. It's the marketing machine that we have targets everybody. Like it's a volume based business. Like if we could get into, 100,000 homes, we know the math will work out where we're going to make our money.
Hmm.
So it's, I've gotten this question a lot from like newer reps who are just like, why don't we go into co-ops and hand out cards? And it's like, trust me, the company has emailed all of those people. We've put flyers in all of their mailboxes. You can go out and hand cards if you want, but they've been hit 10 times.
Yep. So I don't know a lot about home improvement, windows, but I do know Andersen. I see their TV commercials all the time, very expensive. And the
Mhm.
other thing I know about windows is there's a lot of companies that offer a solution as well. And so, being that you guys are very expensive, when that price objection gets brought up, how are you getting around that and overcoming that to then getting the sale and actually improving the value of their home and making everything more efficient?
Yeah, price conditioning is one of the most important things on these appointments. It's the glue that holds everything together. Like, right, we have a sales process. But if you get from point A to point Z and there was no price conditioning, it doesn't matter how many smiles you got. It doesn't matter how many times they told you, "Oh, I love the way the window looks." If it's astronomically higher than what they thought it was going to be, you don't stand a chance. So price conditioning is a very nuanced thing. There's a million ways to do it. I am very blunt. So early in my career, I would dance around it. I would say things like, "Oh, home improvements are expensive." Like that's such a broad thing to say. Now
Hmm.
I'm so seasoned and so nuanced. Like if I'm there for their entry door and some other windows, and the bay window is like mint, it's perfect. There's nothing wrong with it. I'll say something like, "Hey, I'm glad you don't have to replace that one. That's like a $16,000 window, right?" And they're like, "Oh my God," their head starts recalibrating everything because they're like, "I thought that was $5,000."
That's a
So
good way to bring it up.
yeah, exactly.
That's very nice. So when I graduated college, I did door-to-door sales for the first 2 years, and I met a lot of characters. Do you have like one or two like crazy stories from when you go out to people's homes?
I have two really crazy stories. One was a sale and one was not a sale. So I'll start with the sale. And this was like a turning point in my whole career. I go out on a sales call for like 10 windows and it's in Jamaica, Queens, in a rough part, right? Jamaica
Oh yeah.
has, a really nice part and a really rough part. And I get there and the woman is lovely. She's missing a few teeth. And we're going through and she's kind of with me, but I'm noticing something's off about her. And she keeps telling me, "I got to go in the other room." And I'm like, "Okay, I'll be right here. Take your time." And she comes back and there's this smell in the air and it smells like burning hair. And she leaves again. And I pull out my iPhone and I'm like, what drug smells like burning hair? And everything that pops up is like crack cocaine, crack cocaine. So I'm like, "My God, is this woman like really smoking crack in the room next to me?" And I had to go in there to measure. And there it is. The pipe is just right on the table. And I just blinders on. This is when I was starting to get good. This is like year two. I'm working the kinks out. I'm trying to make my President's Club trip, which I did make that year. And
Let's
for the first time
go.
ever.
Let's
Yeah.
go.
And I'm like, it doesn't matter. She's smoking crack. That doesn't mean she won't buy windows. Like I gotta keep the blinders on. And she's like super eccentric and going nuts. And fast forward to the end, I get her approved. She had a 500 credit score, FCC. I love FCC. They took the deal because she had like low debt or whatever. And I remember just thinking like, if I can sell this person, I can sell anybody. Like there's no reason I can't sell. Like I just showed myself in the worst of scenarios, I can pull one out. That's one of my favorite stories of all time because it's so crazy. And I'll have, now that I'm a manager, I'll have reps, tell me their crazy story and be like, I can't believe, I was in this situation. Like there's no way anybody would have sold it. And I'm like, you're wrong. Somebody could have sold it because I've been in way crazier scenarios and I have sold. And all my reps know of the crack lady story because I'm like, listen, if this can be sold, then there's just no excuses. Like anything can be sold. So that's one of my favorites. And by the way, she was super nice despite all of the craziness that was going on. I actually have a picture with her. We
Really?
took a photo after the sale because I was like, no one's going to believe me if I don't get this picture of her with all her missing teeth. And she's smiling and we're holding up my sample window. And this is like 10 years ago. I wish I still had it. But we actually showed the photo at the sales meeting because I was like, you guys aren't going to believe me if I don't put up the picture here. So we put it up and everyone was like, that's insane. Like, you're going to go on a run. Like, if you can sell her, you can sell anybody.
That's amazing. And then you said there was a second one as well?
So the second one, complete opposite from her because I can't tell you his name because once you hear the story, you'll know why I can't tell you his name, but very high profile, works in media. This man is worth over $100 million. And he was actually writing letters into Andersen about, hey, I tried booking an appointment. Like, why won't you guys come out to my house? And he signed it with his name. And I'm like, there's no way this is the real guy. Like, this guy's worth $100 million. Why is he writing letters in? Like, he should have an assistant doing this. Or, like, why would he even be handling a window project? So I bring my director of sales with me. And we're like, if this is legit, let's go try to get this. And we get out to his house and it's him, very famous media personality. He owns a compound on Long Island. Compound's worth like $50 million. There's 4 estates on it.
Wow.
And we're thinking like dollar signs, like this could be the biggest sale in our company's history. We were let down. Right. So, and I love telling these stories back to back because you got the crackhead lady with no money who made a purchase and fixed her house up. And then you have this man who will be
Super
nameless,
wealthy. Yeah.
super wealthy that did not want to spend the money, which is crazy. But the crazy part about being at this guy's house was he was very nice. And we let him know right up front, like, we know who you are and, we want to help you. And my director of sales told a story of him and his father watching him on TV during his dad's last days on earth, like in the hospital. And we must have sent this guy into like a relapse or something because he started boozing after that. Now, this is 11 o'clock in the morning and he's just putting back vodka and he got so drunk that he couldn't finish the appointment.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And like we noticed he had mags of Grey Goose all over the house, like every room. And we're like, maybe he entertains a lot. Maybe he's a big party guy. But after meeting him, it's like this guy was serious alcoholic. And we get to the end and he's like, can barely keep his eyes open. And we show him a price for like not a lot, right? It's just the main house we're looking at. I think the price was like 70 grand just to take care of like half of his main house because he had water leaks coming in from the south side. And for somebody like that, we thought like, this is pennies. Like he's just going to whip out the checkbook. We'll take care of the problems. And he's, I'm telling you, pissed drunk, arguing with us about the price. And we're just like, man, this is so disappointing because you're not who we thought you would be.
Especially when he's the one that was writing the letters saying, why won't you come to my house? You would think that he would be like a 10 out of 10 super hot lead.
Yeah.
And that wasn't the case.
Yeah.
If you were to get that full order, how big would that have been?
So we actually priced it out while we were there because he ended up passing out for an hour and because he was just hammered, which is so crazy. And we were like, you know what, let's just take the time. Like we're here, like we want to wait for him to wake up and try to get a sale here. So we priced out the whole compound and it wasn't an exact number because we couldn't get into all the houses, but we think it was upwards. It probably would have been about between 800 and 900K to do every unit on the compound, which would have exceeded the biggest sale for our location by about 400 grand.
Wow. And
Yeah.
that would have been your biggest commission ever.
It would have been the biggest commission, biggest sale ever. Unfortunately, can't judge a book by its cover because you got the crackhead lady on one side of the spectrum and you got the $100 million man on the other side. The crackhead bought. The guy worth 100 million fought over the price and ended up. I don't. These windows might still be messed up to this day.
Yep. Like when I used to walk into medical offices, the beautiful one that's got, super nice paintings all over the walls, looks super elegant. Sometimes those are the cheapest people. And then you
Yeah.
walk into a rundown place and they're ready to talk business. So you're absolutely right. You can't judge a book by its cover. So is your process, is it mostly a one call close, or do you sometimes have to continue to follow up and re-engage with them?
Yeah, so it's a one call close 95% of the time, I'll say. 5% of the time, customers, for whatever reason, they don't want to move on it that day. The rep, or if we're talking about me, couldn't overcome whatever it was, and then they call back and we do it another day. Be back, be broke. You don't want to be going back places. What I will say though, in this business, some of the very high end jobs, like the $200,000, $300,000 jobs, they do require multiple visits. Sometimes with a technical measure to come out with you. Sometimes with the installation, manager to come out with you. The biggest sale I ever made was 300,000, 305,000 to be exact, which is for one house. I mean, we did 120 windows. It's just a mansion out in the Hamptons. It was sick. And that took 2 visits. The first visit, one of the guys on my team went out without me and really set the groundwork and just said, listen, this is a lot of money. I'm going to bring in my manager who's going to really get technical with you guys and help you out. And when I went back, so it was my first time meeting this guy, but it was our second visit. We got it.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So when you get sales, have you had a scenario when you can really only sell windows? I guess you sell doors as well, but have you ever closed a sale and then upsold them on another purchase right then and there?
Yeah, there was one scenario where I got through this guy's whole house, right? It was a big sale. His house was like 80 grand, whatever, all the doors and windows. And he said, do you have a busy day today? And my response to that is, I'm always busy. Yeah, of course. Like, I'm in sales. Like, I'm running around helping people all day. And he goes, well, if you can spare another hour, I got another house. You want to come take a look at it? And we drove like to a completely new town. And I sold him on his other house, his secondary home. And it was separate contract, everything. Same gentleman, but 2 different properties. And it was just like, sometimes things just work out for you. You crush it. You do such a good job convincing somebody to work with you that they are just like, all right, you're going to be my guy. You're going to work with me on all my projects. Like, those are the best.
The more long-term clients you have, the better. And that's how you get more and more referrals. So Jack, moving on to the last part of our show, which is called the final 4. These are the same 4 questions that we ask every single guest that comes on the show. So question number 1 is, what is your favorite sales book or sales movie?
So I'll give you both. Getting to Yes by Roger Fisher is very good. It's pretty much required reading in our space because we're going out to people's homes and sometimes they have the attitude of like, it's my house. I'm going to negotiate my price and we can't let them do that. So it's a really great book for being able to posture yourself in these situations where you can let somebody feel like they're negotiating, but at the end of the day, you're not giving up your commission. You're going to both win. You're both going to come out winners. So I really like that book. I think it's required reading for anybody in the home improvement space, but I think it's good for just any salesperson. And then movies. So I'll give you 2 because the best sales movie of all time is Glengarry Glen Ross. Like, if you're new in sales and you're just starting out and you want to watch a movie to motivate you, watch Glengarry Glen Ross because it's just such a classic. It's such a good cast and it really will have you feeling motivated to like go out and crush a sale.
Yep.
But that's not my favorite. My favorite sales movie of all time will always be Tommy Boy because I think
Okay.
Tommy Boy is a little bit more relatable, right? You're getting thrown out to the wolves. You have no idea what you're doing, especially like if you're new in sales, watch Tommy Boy. because Chris Farley goes from being this like idiot who knows nothing about sales all the way to saving his dad's company with a couple of big sales. And the movie's just about him figuring out how to do that. It's very good.
That's awesome. Question number 2, what's one sales strategy or tactic that completely changed sales for you?
Yeah, this is an easy question for me because it's empathy, right? We always talk about ways to, sell and upsell, and it's something that I figured out is really important if you want to get people to trust you and spend more money with you. Right. Like I used to, when I was younger in my sales career, I didn't have a lot of empathy. Somebody would tell me, listen, I don't know if I can afford this. And my immediate reaction was just like, yeah, payment plans, like, let's get you into the sale. And nowadays it's just like, yeah, listen, I totally understand. Like, it's a big investment. Like, just leveling with them and telling them, how they feel. Like, yeah, I totally get it, man. Not the first time I've heard that. Lots of my customers tell me that they're unsure if now's the right time to make this type of investment. And it like puts them at ease, and it lets them know like you're sitting on the same side of the table. Like you're not just trying to solve a problem like immediately. It's like sometimes just taking a step back, showing a little empathy and just letting them know how they feel can go a very, very long way.
Yeah, it shows that you guys are on the same side instead of sitting across the table going back and forth with each other.
It's not
Um,
me versus you. It's
correct.
us versus a problem.
Absolutely. That you're both trying to solve. Jack, question number 3. What is your favorite purchase with a large commission check?
Oof. Travel for sure. So when we were planning my wedding and the honeymoon, we had a couple destinations for our honeymoon, right? We were going to maybe explore Europe or go to like a tropical like Bahamas. But I kept saying like, I really want to go like far and exotic. And I really wanted to go to Bora Bora. Now, the price tag difference between Italy and the Bahamas and Bora Bora, like they're not on the same playing field. So leading up to like that time period when I had to kind of start making some plans, I just went out there with the mindset of like, I'm going to crush it. I'm going to earn as much commission bonus as I possibly can. And we're doing this Bora Bora trip. Like I just had it in my head, like it's happening. And it did. And we made it happen. And not only that, I took some of the extra commission I had. We did a couple Michelin restaurants while we were on the island. Like it was sick.
That's awesome. And you deserve it. Question number 4. If you had to start all over again today, knowing what you know now, what's the first thing that you would do to get it all back?
If I could run it all back, I think the first thing I would do is run without fear. I think in the very beginning, there was a lot of fear, like fear of not making a sale, fear that their objections were real, fear that I'm going on a cold run. Like it was always fear of loss instead of just like running fearless and kind of having the confidence of letting things play out, right? So nowadays, like I'm so much better than I was 10 years ago, even like 2 years ago. I'm so much better just because of like confidence. And I'm not scared of no. I'm not scared of an objection. I'm not scared of running into any barbed wire. Like you throw it at me and I'm just going to deal with it. And I think when you deal with it with confidence, like customers are smart. They're kind of like dogs. Like if you have fear, like they kind of sniff it out and they know like, oh, I'm the one in control.
It's a
But if
very
they're
good analogy, by the way. Very good
yeah,
analogy. I
like if
love
they're
that.
hitting you with a bunch of resistance and you're fearful and they smell it, like why wouldn't they want to negotiate at the end to get a lower price? Like why wouldn't they want to tell you, I'm going to wait and call you tomorrow? But when you handle their objections with confidence instead of fear, it almost like rolls them over to a point where they're just like, well, I want to work with this guy. He knows what he's talking about, rather than, oh, he's fighting me on everything I'm saying just because it's not what he wants to hear.
Yep. Jack, this has been very insightful. So much value has been presented to the audience. If people want to learn more about you, where can they find you?
So it's funny. I am the only American citizen with my name. That's a fact. So all you got to do is find me on LinkedIn. Search Jack Tenke on LinkedIn. I am the only one on there. And drop a comment in my DMs. I've actually had, I want to say like 7 or 8 people contact me on LinkedIn saying, hey, I see your sales profile. I'd really like an opportunity. And some of them are on my team right now.
That's
So
awesome.
if you're looking to get into sales and home improvement is your jam, and listen, home improvement, we don't look for construction people. We look for salespeople. We'll teach you the construction stuff. So just drop a DM on my LinkedIn and we'll connect and I'll get you set up with an interview and we'll take it from there.
Awesome. Jack, thank you so much for being a part of the show. I'll talk to you soon.
Yeah, man, let's do it again.